Everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have Candice here again. So everybody welcome Candice. She just connected to her Moldavite this weekend. And we're going to share a little bit about what happened so far with the couple of days that she's connected. And then we're going to talk about how Moldavite and Feng Shui, how Feng Shui complements Moldavite in tying it down through time and space. And we're going to talk about the flying stars today. But let's introduce Candice again and have her share about what she experienced with Moldavite so far. So what happened with your Moldavite, Candice?
Okay, so we talked last week. I don't know if I was fully connected, but I really do feel like something was active or activated. The next day after we talked, maybe 2 days after, you mentioned like glitches in the matrix. You mentioned shifting realities and stuff like that. And this isn't something I've experienced a whole lot of. I'm familiar with the concept of it, but I haven't really experienced myself. And so the other day, again, after we kind of chatted and I decided to connect with it, my husband swears he was driving up and saw me in the living room window, that he could see me. He swears I was, wearing a messy bun in my hair, all this, right? But when he came in, I mean, I was in the middle of a phone call. And so I don't know if something in that reality switched where maybe there was an alternate me. I don't know, but he was like, I saw you, and it really freaked him out that, I was like dead in the middle of a phone call. My hair was different, everything, just strange. I've experienced a glitching with my remote control. You talked about objects coming in and out, and the next day after that, I did experience, actually, it was the same day I experienced, like my remote control like pretty much disappearing and reappearing. It was just so weird. And I thought, I honestly forgot that we talked about the Moldavite. And I was like, it's the Moldavite. Like it really is. It's something that's shifting and connecting. And I know last night I just went through a lot of I guess my mind was just so active. We had a session yesterday, which I fully connected with it. And you talked about connecting to this consciousness of people that are connected to your Moldavite. And I could almost feel like my experience being the same as yours. I felt like I mirrored yours a lot, even though I don't know a lot about you. I don't know your experience, but I felt like this isn't just me, it's you and possibly others that have connected to the Moldavite, um, and just brought a lot back up for me yesterday that I was able to kind of like clear and I think kind of work through. And kind of, I know I kind of mentioned to you that instead of like thinking through it or thinking I was dumb or young or whatever, I was able to kind of look back through like you talked about and look at what was I trying to get from that particular person or what was I trying to get out of that situation, and knowing that whatever I was trying to get it's already in me. You know what I mean? It's already there. And that's just exciting. I'm excited to see where it takes me next.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have you join us on the Moldavite vibration with your expertise in Feng Shui. So how would I explain like what's happening with the glitches is because of the Moldavite's frequency is a lot higher, right? It's taking us to this heaven version of us, this cosmic energy. Our body is an average of all the energy that we've taken on over the years since childhood. And when you dig deeper, it goes back to past lives. So imagine we're trying to ascend up to the cosmos, to the heaven. Moldavite is a balloon that's pulling us up there. So as we're ascending, we're cutting all these cords, releasing the baggage, but releasing the load. And when you are recalibrating your body to the higher frequency, you're going to notice these glitches as if you're in two different parallel realities, right? And so and I see this come up more often too, where people say like, one day they wake up and it's like they're in a whole different reality, but sometimes they're back into the old reality. And typically when that happens is possibly there's still a cord in the other reality that is not released, that's not healed, that's not cut yet. So you're vibrating between two different realities, two different channels, or you're glitching between two different One reality is the old you, one reality is a new you. So again, it's progress, because every time you get a new Moldavite, or let's say, the Moldavite is an anchor point for you, a milestone for you to reach. Once you learn that lesson, then that Moldavite it doesn't feel as powerful as it did before. You're going to level out. And then that's when like, okay, maybe it's time for a level up, an upgrade. Then you go up to a bigger Moldavite. And then that's when you start expanding even more, going up higher. So when we're working to get into realignment, it's all about cutting cord, releasing and healing the body. And how this integrates with Feng Shui. And when Candice mentions that Feng Shui works with the time and space. So when we're glitching between realities, what's fixed here is still our home. And when we can work and complement the two as we're healing, we can also work with the home to harness the energy of the home to help amplify or work with our energy versus going against it, or create more chaos, I would say. Because Moldavite is already stirring up a lot of stuff. Having the environment be in flow really does help with the process. That's a little bit what I share about parallel realities and glitching. I'm gonna do another episode talking more in depth about that. But today, let's talk about how the flying star works with the energy movements in the home, and how we can use it to complement us as we're trying to heal and ascend to a higher frequency.
One thing we're trying to, I think, work with together also is trying to identify the different frequencies of Moldavite and where we can use them within our home. I think is our goal, And so while we're looking at that, I think one of the things we can kind of look at is some of the dynamic energies in Feng Shui, which can be this flying stars. So flying stars is just another layer of Feng Shui. So I want to kind of preface this by saying that when we were talking yesterday, I know one of the ways you found me is I had a video on flying stars, and I was kind of explaining, because I feel like it's such a big topic and a big concept that it can be a little bit overwhelming. And not only that some practitioners make it very negative, because they're just like within our home, we have, those 4 best directions, we have our 4 worst directions. So just like that, there's a yin and a yang to everything in Feng Shui. And so we start talking about some of the flying stars that are more positive, and they have really good ones we like to tap into. And then we have 4 that we want to negate, or we want to avoid those energies. But before I start again, just as we were talking, I mentioned that I talked to another Feng Shui practitioner who started out practicing classical Feng Shui and later found flying stars. But when she found flying stars, and the reason she doesn't practice it anymore is because she felt like it was so negative. They focused on a lot of the negatives. And so today, even though there is some negative areas in the space, or negative stars, negative energies, again, if you focus on the positive ones and you really amplify those positive energies, you're not going to feel the negative ones as much. So I don't want to create fear in talking about some of the negative energies that we find within our home. You don't want to go out and freak out and move everything around and say, oh no, my house is not good. Don't do that.
That is a good point for those starting with Feng Shui or trying to learn it. We're going to do our best to keep it simplified for everyone, especially if you work with Moldavite. Remember that we are glitching in and out of realities, right? You're glitching into a different channel. So our environment is to help complement us. It's not the go-to, be all, that's it. When you work to heal your body as a vessel, working with the environment complements it. So there's 2 parts to this. So don't focus too much on one part. Also focus on work on yourself, because we can also channel and change the energy within the room.
Yes, I completely agree. And even in that, I think that flying stars can be another layer of analysis. So say you've set your home, or you feel like things are going well in your home, then maybe you don't want to incorporate an extra layer of analysis, right? It's another layer of analysis. And with flying stars, it can get very detailed, very complicated, very quickly. And so it might be something that you come back to reconsider if maybe you're doing Feng Shui and you do feel like, this space I felt like was always previously good, and now I feel like it's not a good, it doesn't vibe with me. It's not feeling good. Maybe the flying stars have shifted. And talking about that, let's go back to flying stars as a time-space coordinate. So just like everything in life, everything's always changing, right? Everything's always shifting. We have different seasons. We have nothing is stagnant in time, right? We're not stuck in time. We're always aging. And just like with time, the different energies can shift within our home. So we do have a set of like fixed energies within our home, and that comes from our external environment, the way our home is like laid out. Our stairs are in a certain area, we have windows in a certain area. Those are things we can't really move within our home. And then we have some things we can move in our home, that's like bed placement and all that. But all of that is considered this school of thought right here in Feng Shui, which is a fixed point of energy. Mountains don't move, bodies of water don't move. You can use to find meridian spots, and it's just the external environment surrounding your home. And so now looking at, maybe something shifted in your home and maybe you don't feel like something's quite right, or you feel like, maybe, wow, this area feels really good to me this year. That could be because your experiences some of the dynamic energies that Feng Shui can calculate out. So it's based on time, and it's a time cycle. A lot of people have maybe heard of like, period 1 or period 2, right? When we're calculating certain calculations, maybe we've heard the term before if you're not new to Feng Shui. But it includes things like flying stars, 8 mansions, and other layers of analysis that we can get into. But it's based on a variety of different factors. So we can look at our home, and there's a bunch of different flying star charts we can look at. I'm just going to focus on the yearly, but your home can have a natal chart based on the time it's built, again, based on time. It can have different energies that come in yearly, monthly, daily, even hourly. We don't generally use a lot of those unless we're doing something very specific. So most people tend to focus on the yearly flying stars, and these yearly flying stars can have a profound impact. So most of the time when you start anew after the Lunar New Year, after like February, you'll start seeing people talk about the new flying stars for the year, and they'll have a variety of things you can do to negate the bad stars.
How would you explain the difference between 8 mansions and flying star?
So 8 mansions, it's a fixed energy based on the way your house is oriented, and because it's not all the same and it's not fixed. There's not just one 8 mansions. There's 8 different types of houses for the 8 directions. It's considered a formula, so it is part of the school of formula, and because it's based on different factors, based on the way your house is oriented, whether it's north or south or east or west, and then flying stars, it is based on both time and location. So
Okay, so basically the energy, 8 mansion is the fixed energy that is harnessed within your home. And then a flying star is the movement of the energy throughout the year, throughout the months.
Yes, but your home can have a natal chart, and that is a fixed energy unless extensive renovations are done during a different time period. So it's a little bit more calculative, I suppose. It's just a different layer of analysis. Whereas 8 mansions can affect your home, and it's occupants over like a lifetime. It affects the descendants maybe living in the home. Flying stars affect you over a little bit shorter amount of time. So it's said that they affect you over about 20 years of living in a space.
So we talked about 8 mansions last episode. For those who are not clear on that, you can check back. And then if you want to learn more about flying star, Candice also has a deeper dive into flying star on her channel as well.
So just kind of starting out, these are where the stars come from. These are like their original like home base or hometown. The 2 comes from the southwest, the 9 comes from, the south. But before I kind of get into those energies, I wanted to kind of equate it to the Western Bagua, because if you look, there's a lot of similarities where the concepts from the Western style of feng shui come from. And again, but theirs is just fixed over a space, the way you enter a home. So these will never change if you're using a Western style of feng shui, but these will look different depending on the way your home, the actual compass direction of your home.
Yeah, the left is a classical feng shui.
Yes. Yes.
And the right is just like one format where you overlap all homes or all buildings. Versus
Yes.
the left, it
Yes.
uses a compass, right?
Yes. So with a Western bagua or a fixed bagua, you'll notice that this will always be like, as you enter a space, it'll always be to the right. Whereas this yang metal here, or the yang metal, will, sometimes it's called helpful people and travel within different schools too. That will always fall in the northwest. So no matter where you're at, orient your compass, and you're like, that's the northwest right there, then that's the area. So it's just changes based on the compass.
Gotcha.
Okay, and so yeah, so ours looks more like this again, based on the actual compass direction. We derive these trigrams, we turn them into these numbers and elements here. Again, we kind of talked about the I Ching earlier, the basis of Chinese metaphysics. So this is where this information comes from. So Southwest is always, let me see if I got that on my slide. Yeah. So again, actual compass direction. Each of these areas can be called interchangeably like a gua, a palace, a sector, and each one's associated with a number and an element. So these are the numbers and elements in this this energy mapping, I suppose, this original energy mapping. So no matter where you go in your home, if the southeast sector, it'll always be associated with the number 4 Indian wood.
The Western one confused me because it didn't use directions. But if those who are watching this who plan to use direction, basically go in your home, hold up a compass, and see where Southwest is pointing, then that's the direction of where the energy is flowing for yin earth. Or if you divide your home up and you stand right in the middle, you see where the most southwest corner is for the home, that's your earth sector. Or if you stand south, where it's pointing south, that when you stand in the middle, if you're standing in the middle, you're in the center, number 5. Whereas it pointing south, then that sector, when you divide the home up, is your fire, your south area. So that's how I managed to piece together after a long research and confusion.
Yeah, if anybody's confused, I mean, you can literally just take your compass on your smartphone, like you said, kind of find approximately center of your home and just kind of get familiar with, oh, I see north is over there. Oh, I see south is over there. And again, I do offer to, that's part of the energy mapping I offer to do. So if anybody's confused and they want to apply this information to their home, just message me and I'll do it for you.
It's much better when you have a blueprint and you can see it visually of which room holds which harnesses which is energy, because these move throughout the years. So it's very interesting to see if there's any shifts in your home throughout the year.
Yes, so that's an excellent point that brings us to our next topic here. So we have these energies, and remember, these are always natal to a space. So we can think of the number 2 always being yin earth or small earth, and always associated with the southwest. So again, these can move around, which I'm coming up to. Sometimes, so this is something looks more like what I would lay over your space. It can be a pie shape. Not always a square like that, but it can be a square if your house is more square. Pie shapes fit over irregular floor plans. So we can think of these flying stars as native residents traveling to another country. So the sector they are from, or the gua, the palace they're from, is their hometown. So they can always leave their hometown and visit another palace, sector, or gua. So the flying stars fly from the center to the northwest, and they make a pattern. So flying stars are a way to measure changing energy to make certain predictions. So again, we can have a natal chart to our home, and those are fixed. They don't generally change unless we do extensive renovations and the time period is changed, and that's a little complicated to get into. But And again, most people focus on the yearly because those kind of affect you over the course of a year. And then we have monthly stars, daily stars, and hour stars that can come in. And those are generally only used to check to make sure certain energies are either there or not there.
Right. And then also if one sector is like not good this year, remember next year it can move to a different section of the home. So it's that room is not always a bad year, a bad sector. But don't focus on the bad, focus on the good spots and hang around in those areas.
Yeah. Yeah, we can balance it out using certain decorative touches, things like that.
So there's remedies if your area is not in a good space. There's remedies to balance it out, to keep it simply.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to move rooms, especially your homes if you're like limited in that. So in flying stars, there's 5 stars that are considered auspicious and 4 that are considered inauspicious. So we actually have more positive than negative. See, we're doing good already. But yeah, and so again, these stars can float around this lovely low shoe at any point in time, and they can appear. And so, but always that what it takes with it, again, if we think of it as being a resident. So I'm from Texas, and if I go to Nebraska, I'm still from Texas, like I'm still Texan, right? So same thing here. The number 1's always associated with water, so it can fly around and visit other palaces or sectors, but it'll always be the element of water. And the number 1 star, it represents like influence, wisdom, career, reputation, and support from helpful people. So it's generally considered a really good star. The number 4 star, it's the element of wood, and it is known as the literary arts star. It's generally associated with like book learning. So if you have something like a test, quiz, it's really good for that type of thing. If you want to higher learning or like placement tests, you can use this sector for the year, and you can activate it with different things. And you can literally activate that star. Sometimes it's also associated with like health and medicine, but generally academic achievement, self-improvement, growth, self-knowledge, self-improvement, learning new skills. The number 6, it's the element of yang metal, and it's associated with wealth and authority. The Northwest and that yang metal, the number 6, it's always associated with like head or like a boss. So if you're a boss, you can use this star more than you can use the next one. So this is one of the most popular ones that people like to activate for the year. I see a lot of talk about like the yearly wolf star, and it falls in the Northeast this year. So it's important everything's back in its original palace. So the way you see it right now is where everything's at for the year. The Northeast is associated with the element of earth, and it's, like I said, it's supposed to be like the wealth star, it's generally regarded as. But if you have employees, you can have them work in that area for the year, or you can activate the area. That way your employees are more productive. So it works really well. But if you work on contract work, or you need to secure more clients, this is a good area you can activate for the year. You can actually just spend time in all these sectors, and it works too. And then of course we have 9, which is here in the South, and it represents like the element of fire and happiness, spirituality. I think, yeah. So yeah, the numbers will just shift. I believe the stars may be flying. I'm trying to think backwards. So these will all, but they'll all change. So the 8 will be here next year. The 9 will be here, so everything just shifts around and moves in a specific pattern. And then there's 4 that are considered generally unlucky, negative, or inauspicious. Number 2, Earth, associated with illness. So I will clarify, again, sometimes yearly and monthly stars, that can be what triggers some of the energies in a palace or a wall. The 3, it's usually generally associated with arguments or fighting, and that's visiting the east this year. The number 5, Earth star, is visiting back in the center, and it's disaster and loss star. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a volatile, unpredictable energy. So we don't generally use a 5-star at all. But these other ones can actually be used because not everything's always bad, and that's why I say don't freak out or worry too much about these energies. The number 7 is a yin metal. I forgot to put yin metal, but and generally with the yearly star, it indicates things like financial loss, lawsuits, and gossip. So these are the 4 you just want to. I mean, you can spend more time in the better areas and these good sectors, then you're fine. If you're already sleeping there, what I've learned is that an established pattern of energy doesn't activate it. So it's said that flying stars are actually activated by movement, moving around and spending time in the area. So if you're already using the sector, don't worry about it. But it's not just someone, maybe you notice that, the southwest room of your home is, you know, you're like, oh, maybe I want to move my room to there. Maybe it's just a year that you don't want to, move your bedroom there and sleep there, right? If you're already there, it's okay.
Not too much movement in the inauspicious area so that you don't activate it or change the energy within or stir it up.
Yeah, yes. Just to kind of point out that I didn't mention this at the start, but forms actually will supersede a formula. So forms are those basic feng shui rules that we come across when we first start doing feng shui, bed up against a solid wall, right? Then we look at different formations within the home. Are there 2 doors facing each other? Is that energy clashing there? How does your door open to your home? There's different things that show flow of energy. And sometimes we can look at areas that are inside our house and we're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of clutter there. And then maybe you notice like maybe some things you felt like weren't going so smoothly that month. Maybe the flying star for the month has moved in and maybe there's some negative energies there and you're aggravated by clutter and dust and dirt. But they can also be aggravated by bad forms. Is your stove in a really bad place? When a flying star comes in, is it aggravated by bad placement of your stove? Maybe there's different formations like these stairs are not a good formation. We hear about spiral staircases in certain sectors. Maybe there's a problem area where this would be called like nose pulling chi, where the chi just goes straight out of the door. So there's some different factors we can look at in the physical way the house is set up. I can show maybe the flying stars will be a little more aggressive in that area. So they're not always just activated by movement, but they can be aggravated by bad forms. And this can also come into factor when we look at our external environment. A lot of people don't realize that like 70-80% of your feng shui comes from your external environment. And sometimes if your area is just, you have a generally nice area, if you look out, you see a park across the street, you have a nice yard, you keep it tidy, everything's clean, nothing in disrepair, then it can collect a really good chi around your space and your front door to have a good energy coming in. And that way the stars show more positive attributes. And so things like, maybe I was telling you, I took this picture. That's crazy to me that somebody lives with this tree in their front door. Like that's the picture I took. That's just around town, I mean, there's not chi going into your space. But one of the things, the easiest things you can do is literally just look at your front door, look out and see, is there electric pylons right across from me? Is there radio towers? And I think of the rules about 150 feet, as a water tower, because remember the energy we're receiving into our front door is what's coming into our home. So even though, maybe like we talked about 8 mansions, maybe one of those sectors that we're coming into our front door isn't one of our auspicious, it's not an auspicious sector to our home, but we look out and we see nice features, then the energy coming in is still better than if we look out our front door and we see a water tower or, a bridge intersecting our door. So generally the intersecting of the door is what can aggravate some of the flying stars in a bad way. And so as kind of an example, say we have the Southwest 2 here, we talked about the Southwest, and say you have a really ugly, 5G tower, it's pretty close to your home, you may feel the effect that year. So we might not feel the effects if our external environment's good.
It's exuding a frequency that is not resonating with our energy field.
It does. And one of the things that I've heard, because I mean, obviously they're probably giving off EMFs we don't know about. I've learned recently about like geopathic stress from underground energies, stuff like that, like some things we don't see. But looking at our external environment, maybe we see, um, this is pretty close to my house. I don't know, what's going on or whatever, but maybe we feel like it's not good. One of the things I've heard is that because it's like literally like energy flow. If we think of the way a stream flows or the way a river flows, if we put a stick in the middle of it, the water will go around it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So when we're looking at radio towers, electric pylons, and things like that that are like literally blocking a space, and we think about maybe the energy's going around it like that, and it's a distorted type of energy, and so we're getting that and receiving that maybe in a certain area of our home. So I always recommend people try not to purchase properties that are in close proximity. And I mean, come on, they could just cut that down. That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
That's pretty bad. And
But
also,
yeah.
I
Oh
want to
yeah.
mention the what's called the Wi-Fi boxes within your home. You might want to put an
Mm.
organite. You can buy a little organite pyramid or a tower to put in the room where you have the Wi-Fi, because I noticed being a space where there's a lot of Wi-Fi zooting out, it interferes with your thoughts, your energy field, and so you may be picking up some other signal that is not yours, but it's not in resonance. So if you have a Wi-Fi box somewhere, put it somewhere, or put it what's it called? A little pyramid thing there to help balance out the energy.
That's what we did. We put a little Oregon generator there. All right. And again, this is kind of just showing that some objects can help flying stars, looking at our flying stars. And, sometimes we can, again, I kind of like the natural element. And we're working, again, with our Moldavite to try to see where we can put these with our home. So I'm playing with the sectors. I might play with flying stars and see how it activates. But yeah, using things like candles, literally weights. These are things that can kind of negate the energy of like that earth star that's there, because it's metal, and it, going back to the element cycle, can degenerate some of the elements that we don't need. So yeah, we kind of use these to balance out the elements within a space if we're looking at flying stars and we're worried about one of them.
Oh, but so you mentioned metal, right? The Southwest this year
Mm-hmm.
is about illness. So
Mm-hmm.
Southwest area is Earth this year. So putting a weight
Mm-hmm.
in that room would help balance out the energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, you can put a literally just a metal weight, and I've even used just weight plates.
I'm excited to see how you incorporate Moldavite into different sectors of the home, because you're more in tune of where the energy moves. So keep us updated on how that turns out for you.
Yes.
We're trying to integrate and connect all of this together, right? Because one, we know that we're glitching, switching realities. Two, let's see how the time and space of Feng Shui helps connects all of this together.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited about moving it around to different sectors. So I might try and play with the sectors, and I might try and play with flying stars. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm super excited. So,
Update you. Mhm.
anything else you want to add, Candice, before we wrap this up?
I mean, kind of just to recap again, start slow. And honestly, like I said, there's different videos on my channel, and they're super easy. It's like feng shui for your front door, feng shui for your bedroom, feng shui for your kitchen. Start with those. It's going to talk about setup rather than looking at like flying stars and stuff. It's a super easy way to kind of start looking at feng shui. But start with your front door. Literally, what's around your front door, and how it can be cleaned up. Decluttered an area, dust it off. Trim the
Yeah.
hedges around it.
Yeah. So on our series, we're not going to go too in depth about what Feng Shui is. Candice's channel will have more information on that. Our intention here with these videos is to see how Moldavite integrates with Feng Shui, because when we can bridge this heaven on earth, I think we are on the forefront of something. Like something wants to come through out of all of this. So I'm excited to bring it to merge it all together and see what's there for us, like what the Moldavites are leading us to. Now that's exciting to me. I'm super excited to have you on the Moldavite vibration, Moldavite wave. But next week, let's touch base on the different sectors of the home and what remedies we can use to negate, balance out the sections, and also what we can do to activate the good sectors of the home. So we'll talk more about activation next week as well. Cool.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yes.
All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in for us on the series. And we'll see everyone here for the next episode. Thank you everyone. Bye.